What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Just me tonight. Ryan is healing, dealing with sickness. So today we are breaking down week 7 of college football, talking game of the week, Oregon versus Ohio State, talking our top Eagles draft targets to watch, picks, and more. This is one of my favorite shows of the week. So let's jump right into this thing and talk about our biggest Eagles draft targets to know. Top Eagles draft targets to know this week. It's, again, just me. So my big name to watch heading into week 7, we're going to the Big Ten. We're talking Penn State, and a guy that I think is unbelievable. His name is Tyler Warren, tight end for the Nittany Lions. I had Tyler Warren ranked as my number 7 tight end in the class during our preseason ranking show, and he's blown that into smithereens. He's played much better after 6 weeks this year. In week 6 against UCLA, he caught his 17th touchdown pass of his career, the most of any Nittany Lion tight end in program history. And with that touchdown, he passed former Nittany Lion tight end and current Pittsburgh Steeler Pat Freiermuth for the most receiving touchdowns by a tight end. So you look at James Franklin, he's got a long history of putting quality tight ends into the NFL. Since he's taken over the program in 2014, 5 Nittany Lion tight ends have been selected in the NFL draft. Tyler Warren has been Drew Aller's favorite target so far this year. He's got 23 receptions for 289 yards. That's 9 more receptions and 59 more yards than the team's second leading receiver, Harrison Wallace. As a prospect, Tyler Warren's not explosive as Theo Johnson from last year, who completely blew up the NFL draft combine, posted a 9.93 raw athletic score. But I think when you compare the two, I like Tyler Warren's route tree a lot more. It's more expansive. I think he's a better run blocker, and I think he's got his own legit versatility. He can line up anywhere on offense. We've already seen him throw a touchdown pass in a previous week. I think this guy checks off all the boxes to be a quality tight end too at the next level. I would love to see the Eagles spend a day 2 pick on this guy, and I think he can be a tight end 1 going forward. So keep an eye out for Tyler Warren. Penn State plays USC this week. It's going to be a great matchup. We're going to preview it in just a little bit because that's one of our top 5 matchups, to top 5 games of the week as well. Let's jump into my player prediction of the week. All right, predictions for the week. Let's quickly recap week 6. Ryan and I both got Georgia correct, both got Ole Miss, and both got Ohio State correct. Tennessee took the L, and I didn't get Missouri correct, and Ryan picked Texas A&M. For players of the week, I'm giving it to myself. Ryan Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama, had 3 receptions, 82 yards, and 2 total touchdowns. Katron Allen had 21 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown. There's some more of the picks. We're getting to picks a little bit. But the guy I want to talk about this week that I think is due for a huge, huge week, his name is Phil Mafah out of Clemson. Phil Mafah, man, this is a really intriguing guy. I would love to see the Eagles kind of get him as a RB2 behind Saquon Barkley. A big reason why Clemson is on top of the ACC right now is because of their punishing rushing attack, and that is because of running back Phil Mafah. Last week, the Clemson Tigers outgained Florida State on the ground 265 yards to 22, with 154 of those coming from Phil Mafah. The game was not only the most yards recorded for Mafah this year in 2024, but it was also his most attempts. As a prospect, Phil Mafah has a lot of upside, I think, to go anywhere in that day 2 range. He's got solid size at 6'1", 230-ish pounds. He's a physical downhill runner. He's also shown some potential as a pass catcher. For someone with such a big body, I think he runs really solid routes. His bread and butter at the next level will be as a short yardage back. He's one of those guys that knows how to fall forward, knows how to lean forward, pick up those hard to come by yards. I like his player comp to Leonard Fournette. Keep an eye out for Phil Mafah, who is a really fun prospect. This running back class is absolutely loaded, if you didn't know already. We've covered most of them here on this show already. Let's get into our biggest game of the week. Game of the week, man, it's a good one. These next 2 weeks, there are so many great games. But the game we're talking about today, Oregon versus Ohio State, in a really fun matchup. Let's talk about Oregon. They won their last 3 games by an average of 26 points after winning its first 2 by 13 combined points. So they're definitely trending in the right way. The offense, which you could argue heading into this year was the best in the country, it hasn't really been that way. The Ducks have won 11 straight games at home. They do own one of those victories against now ranked Boise State. They won last week 31-10 over Michigan State. You look at Dylan Gabriel, the transfer quarterback there out of Oklahoma. Last week he had 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions in the win. And Oregon's offense has now scored 31 points in 4 consecutive games, with Gabriel throwing 2 or more touchdowns in all 4 outings. Defensively, the Ducks are only giving up 162 passing yards per game. That's the 18th fewest in college football. So as an offense that was supposed to be legit, it's been hit or miss. Then we get to the Oregon Ducks defense. The defensive line for Oregon is absolutely massive. All 4 starters weigh over 200, 270, 280 pounds. And the guy that I really like, and we covered him last week, is, Jordan Burch. He's kind of been the surprise winner of the team so far. You could argue he's been the best player on the roster at this point. Jordan Burch, he's got 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles, and a fumble recovery in last week's win over Michigan State, along with 4 tackles. And Oregon just loves to pump out these guys, these defensive linemen. You look at Kayvon Thibodeau, you look at DeForest Buckner, you look at Eric Armstead. I think after 5 games this year, Jordan Burch is going to be one of those dudes. He's got elite athleticism. He can play defensive tackle or edge. He knows how to set the edge. So you love the alignment flexibility. You love the physical tools. I think he's an impact 3-down player at the next level. The other guy I think everyone should know, especially on offense, is a guy named Tez Johnson, a wide receiver for Oregon. Tez Johnson, I love him. He gives me a lot of Tank Dell vibes. And if you have been following along, Tank Dell was one of my favorite players during that draft. Tez Johnson, 5'10", around 160 pounds, woefully underweight at any level of football, but man, he is undeniably dynamic. He brings size-defying toughness, amazing catching skills, just like Tank Dell did as a prospect. He's got elite body control and hand-eye coordination, hyper elite in terms of athleticism, and he's an amazing separator. And I think this guy looks like a Z receiver at the next level. He has all the tools to be a 3-level threat in the NFL. So keep an eye out for Tez Johnson as a guy that I think is going to blow up the draft process. Yeah, there's size concerns for sure, but he does a lot of things that I like a lot. And of course, the other guy, I think you could make an argument is their top prospect as of right now. He is Jabbar Muhammad. He is a corner, 5'10", 183 pounds. Jabbar Muhammad is one of the top cornerbacks in college football. He led all corners with 19 forced incompletions last year, 17 of those coming from single coverage. Not the biggest, again, but he's got excellent burst for the position. He's a feisty, ultra-competitive cornerback, plays a sticky brand of coverage, does an excellent job using high football IQ to stay in phase and the hip pocket of his man. When it comes to weaknesses, obviously he lacks that prototypical outside cornerback body and frame. He has a smaller build, so handling bigger NFL receivers is going to be a question mark. And he could probably improve his tackling. He was charged with 13 missed tackles last year. That needs to get better. So keep an eye out for Jordan Muhammad, who I think is a fantastic prospect in his own right, probably another day 2 guy. Let's head to the Ohio State side of this preview. Ohio State, is this the year Ryan Day finally gets over the hump and delivers the Buckeyes their first national title since 2014? Ohio State has been perfect through 5 games this year, including a 2-0 start in the Big Ten. After weathering some early defense from Iowa last week, they now sit 4th in FBS in scoring offense and 1st nationally in scoring defense, allowing under a touchdown per game. And the Buckeyes are averaging 222 rushing yards per game, the 4th most in the nation, led by the dynamic duo of Quinshon Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. Those guys are absolutely outstanding. Quinshon Judkins is the main story here for the Buckeyes. A little bit on Judkins, just fantastic vision at 6 foot, 219 pounds, amazing contact balance and explosiveness, which makes him nearly impossible to arm tackle him. Judkins is kind of that thunder to TreVeyon Henderson's lightning. And I just think this is a legit special prospect who's right up there for RB1 right after Ashton Jeanty. So keep an eye out for him. And then we get to TreVeyon Henderson, another fantastic prospect. Not as good, but definitely a day 2 guy in his own right. There's some other guys you really need to know about when it comes to Ohio State. Obviously, the big one is Caleb Downs, a transfer out of Alabama. He is arguably the best safety in college football. There's no real weakness in this guy's game. I remember watching the tape of Alabama all last season, and he was a freshman last year and popped every single game. Caleb Downs has really good size, living up to the hype. He was one of the biggest highest rated safety recruits in a long time, and he's delivering. So keep an eye out for Caleb Downs. He's not draft eligible, but when he is draft eligible, he'll probably fall due to the value of the safety position in the NFL. But legit. And then last but not least, let's talk about Jeremiah Smith, a wide receiver that is blowing up the college football scene right now. Jeremiah Smith seems to make these like one-handed catches every single week. He is a touchdown machine, arguably right there with Ryan Williams in terms of the top true freshman in the country. Jeremiah Smith is the next great one, right there with Marvin Harrison Jr. Not comparing the two. I think Jeremiah Smith is a little bit of a different prospect. And then on the defensive side, the Ohio State Buckeyes have some other fun ones like Jack Sawyer, a really solid edge rusher, more of a run defender than he is a pass rusher, but great size, strength, all football IQ, all those. Denzel Burke, another amazing corner. I had a first-round grade on this dude. last season. I was shocked to see him return for his senior year. And then Tyleik Williams, one of the top defensive tackle prospects in the draft. This Ohio State defense is absolutely loaded. Bottom line is the Oregon Ducks offense cannot skip a beat. They have to be clicking on all cylinders in order to keep up with Ohio State, who is a much more elite offense and defense pretty much across the board. Ohio State doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. They are absolutely loaded. I think Ohio State wins this one. And with that being said, let's get to our picks of the week. Picks of the week. I do not have Ryan here, so I'll just give mine and we'll fill it in later. Ole Miss versus LSU. Let's get into this thing. Two top SEC teams square off on Saturday night. Ole Miss, I love their offense, but I don't think we talk about their pass rush enough. They are arguably the deepest and best pass rushing team in the nation. And then you look at number 13, LSU. They're excellent in their own right. The Ole Miss Rebels won their first 4 games before being upset by Kentucky last week. They are looking, but they bounced back with a convincing 27-3 win over South Carolina last week. The LSU Tigers lost their opener to USC. They won their next 4, and they are coming off of a bye week. This is the 113th meeting between the two teams. This is known as the Magnolia Bowl, in case you were wondering. And LSU leads the all-time series 65-42-4. I'm not picking against Ole Miss. Jackson Dart, Trey Harris, that offense is elite. Juice Wells, that offense is as good as it gets. And I believe in the offense to kind of get back on track here. Give me Ole Miss over LSU, who I like, but they're going to miss Harold Perkins in this one. If Harold Perkins was in this game, who is out for the season, maybe it's a different conversation. Ohio State versus Oregon, going Ohio State. No, this one is a no-brainer for me. I'm not the biggest Dylan Gabriel guy. I think he's a tad bit overrated, especially when it comes to like NFL draft prospect. Penn State versus USC. New look Big Ten football matchup, man. USC is looking to rebound off of a slow start against number 4 Penn State. USC fell out of the AP rankings this week after moving to 3-2 and 1-2 in Big Ten play after losing to Minnesota last week. The offense is kind of hit or miss, and now they go up against arguably the best defensive front in college football. Penn State is 8th nationally in scoring defense, allowing just over 11 points per game, and enters this week number 7 nationally in total defensive production, allowing 4.10 yards per play. I think Drew Aller and that Penn State offense is clicking on all cylinders. Again, keep an eye out for Tyler Warren, the tight end, and one of the best players on offense there for that squad. I'm going Penn State. Give me the Nittany Lions in a pretty convincing win. Next up, we have South Carolina versus Alabama. Alabama is coming off a shocking loss, thanks in part to Diego Pavia. What an amazing story. Go check out my short on him. He was arguably the biggest winner of Week 6. They took down Alabama, man, but the Crimson Tide are still in the top 10 of the polls and looking to avoid falling under 500 in SEC play. Meanwhile, South Carolina is 1-2 in SEC play. They've lost to LSU and Ole Miss, and they need to definitely improve its passing production. They rank 110th nationally in passing offense. Obviously, I would hate to be South Carolina in this matchup. I see Alabama rolling. Give me Alabama. And then last but not least, another doozy. We're talking Texas versus Oklahoma for the first time. The Red River Shootout will be played with an SEC logo on the field. This is just going to be an intensely fought battle, man. Texas is one of a dozen teams in college football yet to lose a game. Sits at 1-0 in the SEC. You saw Arch Manning light it up last week, but Quinn Ewers is expected to return after dealing with an abdominal injury. Meanwhile, Oklahoma is 1-1 in the SEC. They took a 10-point loss at home to Tennessee that resulted in a quarterback change, and I don't see them beating Texas. I think Texas is too well-rounded. Give me Texas with the W there. So those are my picks of the week. Maybe we'll share our we always do 3 more locks, but I'll wait for Ryan to do that in the near future, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We're going to close it up here and get ready for the Phillies Game 3. I am Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Stay awesome, everyone.